If you ever read into any diplomatic sayings or famous diplomatic sayings, one of probably the most famous sayings out there is that war is a failure of diplomacy. And what we have just witnessed in Alaska is an absolute failure, failure of diplomacy. And I am so glad out there that a lot of the news media, even Fox News, is very difficultly trying to, at the moment, try to spin this as some sort of win for Trump. And bear in mind, there has been a lot just come out over the past 48 hours. There's going to be a lot come out as well, probably on Monday, where Zelensky is going to be meeting Trump. And let's just go through, obviously, the timeline of this, because honestly, it feels crazy where we are at the moment. And I will tell you exactly where, unfortunately, where we are in a moment after this. But let's rewind the clock. I initially, of course, wake up to the news that this meeting has obviously happened. And it's like, okay, so what exactly happened? And the initial reporting, again, like I say, we found stuff out later, and don't worry, we'll be getting to that. The initial reporting of it was nothing happened, that nothing has substantially changed, that no deal was reached, that nothing really got decided upon, that there was no discussion happening. So my initial thoughts about this was, well, at least that's a good thing. There were a lot of worries, I think, by a lot of people, I think, on our side of this, worried that, of course, Trump and Putin were going to go into a room and then, well, just carve up Ukraine. That was the biggest worry. And we'll get to some of the stuff in a moment. But initially, that seemed to not happen. Not only that, we were also worried about that this was going to be a pure one-on-one meeting. It wasn't. This was a 3-on-3 meeting. There was also Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff in the room with Trump as well, which, again, glad that that happened. Very glad that that happened in a way, but still, the outcomes that we are now hearing about, unfortunately not. So, of course, after all this initially happens, Trump comes out and tries to spin this as some sort of great victory, great win. But there's still, stuff to be talked about, stuff to do. And what happened in the immediate aftermath of that was there was a lunch planned that got cancelled. Not only that, but we saw the breaking of diplomatic norms get broken. Because normally during a summit like this, at a post press conference, the host would get to go first. So that would normally mean that Donald Trump would get to go first. But that's not what happened. Putin got to go first and spoke after that conference, which broke with every single diplomatic norm and has set the stage for the talking points of what everyone should be talking about. That what happened was that Putin manipulated Trump absolutely perfectly and masterfully. Remember, on Friday, that was the deadline day. That was when all these extra sanctions were meant to go into place against Russia. Not even happening now at all. There's no, I think, further threat for any further sanctions, at least as far as I'm aware, that they've maybe come out. Again, maybe there has been something that has come out since then. I'm not 100% too sure. There's a lot of stuff being said at the moment. But what is most worrying now is the deal that has come out of this. And as far as we are aware, the deal is this. Trump, Putin, shall we say, is basically demanding all of Donetsk. Just give me Donetsk. And, yes, we also need to have a look at the root causes of this war and have a look at Ukrainian statehood, which If any of you have been following this and have understood what Vladimir Putin asks or means by when he says those things, the root causes basic of this war is that Ukraine does not have any security guarantees from the West, meaning I can come back later and just claim more territory. And oh yeah, by the way, you're giving me all of Donetsk. And also, the current line of conflict, we're going to freeze. Not that there's going to be any troop withdrawals or anything like that. Oh no. All the Ukrainians are going to withdraw from current Donetsk, and we're going to get that. But then this goes into the other thing as well. Once you've got, of course, the root causes, blaming NATO for this. Again, NATO's got nothing to do with this conflict whatsoever. The aggressor here is Vladimir Putin, has always and has been since the start of this war, is the fact that it was mentioned about Ukrainian statehood. And that is most worrying. That is the most worrying of all this. Because if you know anything about this war, what Putin has been saying constantly has and always has been that Ukrainian statehood, really, they are a brother. And he said this in the press conference, they are a brother nation to us. Now, what would essentially happen in those further talks, if it got happened, Ukraine would become a puppet state to Russia. Russia would get to decide economic stuff, stuff that went on in the country. Ukraine wouldn't have any sovereignty. It would be a puppet state to Russia. That is what it means when they say visit and talk about Ukrainian sovereignty. That is worrying. That is incredibly worrying. Because it now looks like that on Monday, when, Trump meets with Zelensky, and at the moment there's going to be a meeting with Zelensky and the European leaders and I think Trump as well, apparently today at some point. So who knows what could happen today, maybe further updates down the line. But honestly, if you are Zelensky and basically you are being offered, by the way, you can, quote, sort of, again, get a ceasefire. Remember, this is just a ceasefire. This is not an end to the war by giving up all of Donetsk. And, oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to get rid of all your Western weapons. We're going to, maybe Russia now gets to control your domestic affairs, your economic affairs. Why, as Zelensky, would you then accept this deal? Just why? And unfortunately, we are now back. We are now back to what I fear as to what happened in that post White House meeting last time Trump and Zelensky met. I think we're just back there. That once again, Trump is seeing not Putin, who is the real problem and real aggressor in all this. No, it is the victim. It is Ukraine. It is Zelensky. He's the real problem. This is victim blaming. This is, Ukraine just had too short a skirt and, absolutely deserved it from Russia. This is how it is generally coming across. And I am worried. I am very, very worried what will happen in that meeting on Monday. If you are Zelensky, why on earth are you going to accept this deal? Like, why on earth would you give up Ukrainian sovereignty to let Russia basically control you? Putin pretty much gets from this deal everything he wants. Once again, this is being seen as awful. It is being seen as Trump selling out Ukraine. There has been a lot of pushback from people in America, which is good, but there needs to be even more, to be honest. And I think, once again, we as Europeans need to be in the position to be wary and looking out now for what if America decides to pull out and cut and run and stop all this. We once again are back at that stage where we as Europeans might need to be considering intervention. Because it all goes back to what I said at the beginning of this. War is a failure of diplomacy. And Vladimir Putin, time and time again, has never, ever had a single, he's never made a single concession. He has always made demands. And unfortunately, Trump in this situation has constantly given in to Russian demands. That's where it leaves us, generally where it leaves us. I honestly think we are still looking at a situation with war with Russia. I might seem a bit alarmist about that, but that generally seems, honestly, where we as Europe, we're going to have to put on our big boy pants and go, hey, if the only thing that Putin is going to respond to is force, and that we have exhausted every diplomatic avenue, what other recourse do we have? So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, links down below, Patreon page, buy me a coffee link, all that stuff down below. Leave me a comment as well to let me know what you think about all this. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.